The all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM. Insane broadcasting, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio, and we are, as always, proud, very, very proud to be the Patriot. With me, Mr. Gary Cornwell. He's the former mayor of Cahokia. Did a great job. He's also your candidate for St. Clair County Auditor. Gary Cornwell, see, he's a decent guy, unlike me, who's sometimes not real decent. He won't address the situation because he is a gentleman, but I will. Bob Sprague, this ass-white piece of crap who wouldn't even go to his dad or brother's funeral, that shows you how disrespectful he is to everyone. You piece of crap, you pissy pants bastard. And this is Bob Romanek, not Gary Cornwell talking. If you people are tired, Sprague makes $2-3 million a year, lives in a $2 million house, people, because of you. He gets these candidates elected mayor, and he's mad at Cornwell because Cornwell threw his ass out when he was elected mayor of Cahokia because he knew that Bob Sprague wasn't good for Cahokia. I don't think Bob Sprague personally is good for humanity, but that's my opinion, of course. But if you want to get Bob Sprague for all he's done, the culture of corruption he's led for the last 20, 30 years, he don't have the guts to get on the ballot. He throws his wife out on Front Street. But you can vote against Bob Sprague by voting against Patty Sprague. Patty Sprague has no qualifications, but she deserves some money because she got to sleep with that rotten, stinky bastard. Oh, we don't piss in his drawers when they're sleeping. And that's Bob Romanek talking, nobody else. If you're pissed off, hey, I like that word. Hey, Sprague, if people are pissed off at you, they'll vote against your wife. That's a way to get to you. So everyone that's been screwed by Bob Sprague in the St. Clair County Democratic culture of corruption, if you want to send Bob Sprague a message, vote for Gary Cornwell because we need to throw fat-ass Patty Sprague. And somebody said, hell, you're talking about a woman. No, I'm talking about a politician. Once a man or a woman gets up in that political ring, it's not about sexuality, except for Kern's situation, of course. It's about them being a politician. She's not a woman when she steps up in that political ring. She's a politician. She can get hit as hard as anybody. So if you want to show your disdain, your hatred for a no-good, low-life, bottom-feeding piece of crap like Bob Sprague, you got to vote Patty Sprague out of office. Maybe they'll go down to Florida in their $3 million estate that we the taxpayers have paid for. Having said that, don't hold anything I've said against Gary Cornwell, our candidate, the people's candidate for St. Clair County Auditor. Gary, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be here on your show. And, you know, you're exactly right. We may say it a different way, but the fact is Bob Sprague is the Democratic Central Committee chairman. He holds the checkbook over the entire Democratic organization. And if you're paying attention, you're going to notice that almost every single elected official at the county level is a Democrat. And so whether they like it or not, they better go with the flow or he's going to take that checkbook and beat them over the head with it, and they know it. So they're made to do some uncomfortable things, and the entire atmosphere just isn't for the people. It's been like this for a while. We're trying to change that, you know, and I've never been more proud to be associated with a group of candidates than the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition. The reason that I'm for every one of these candidates is because they're honest and because their heart is in the right place. And those are the two main things that I look for in any elected official. Once you give them the key to their office, they can do really whatever they want for 4 years without being thrown out. Now, if you believe that they're an honest person and you believe that their heart is in the right place, then it's a lot less of a gamble for you. But if you got somebody who's a known liar, they've already proven that to you, that they're willing to cover things up from their office, which I believe that's what my opponent does. I believe that she provides a seal of secrecy to all of the financial things that take place in front of the county board. And I can give you examples of that. I can tell you that the pension plan that people participate in is called IMRF, the county employees. It's called IMRF, the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, and there were some questions that were raised from IMRF about whether certain elected officials or other employees, whether they qualified for the IMRF plan are not, and the rule is that you have to work 1,000 hours a year, roughly that's 20 hours a week. So this was all about some county board members and some other ones, and now I can tell you that the only county board members that are going to put in that amount of hours are going to be the ones who oppose the things that are going on in the county board. The rest of them are friends of Mark Kearns, and they are going to put 0 hours into talking to their constituents or trying to find things out or even reading their agendas. They show up to a county board meeting, they open it up. If it's on the agenda, they know Mark Kearns wants it, usually, and so they just nod their head yes, and it's a scam on the people. So, now, Human Resource Director Frank Bergman, who used to be a mayor of Cahokia before me, and ran our village into the ground, and for all of his misdeeds, he was promoted to the Human Resource Director for St. Clair County now. He fabricated a lie. He came up with issued an adverse opinion, and it was based on the fact that our county is using a separate auditing firm for one of their departments, which is the Intergovernmental Grants Department. Now, if you remember several years ago, the Intergovernmental Grants Department was in a little bit of trouble with the federal government. They, under the direction of somebody else, they were accused of giving grants to their friends who didn't qualify and denying grants to those who clearly qualified, and there was an investigation about this. And so I think there's a little something hokey going on in that department in particular, and maybe the government is requiring them to audit that separately with another firm of their choosing. That could be going on, but the county's not admitting that. Mark Kearns not admitting that if that's the case. So the adverse opinion had to do with the fact that they were using this other firm to audit that one particular department separate from all the other county departments. And the comptroller's office is where these audits go. You have to have their approval. That's the procedure for any branch of government. You submit your audits to the comptroller. Now, the comptroller came back and said, wait a minute, your own auditing firm has issued an adverse opinion for using another firm. We demand corrective action. We want to know, what are you going to do to fix this? Well, they snubbed their nose at the state of Illinois' comptroller office, and they said, we're going to do whatever we want. Well, first of all, my opponent had absolutely nothing to say as your elected auditor. She wouldn't respond to the newspaper when they came around. She referred all of her questions to other people around her, employees in her office, and of course her good friend Mark Kearns spoke up for her, the very first person being audited, and he said, no, we're not going to do what the comptroller wants us to do. We're going to do it our way. We don't care what the comptroller thinks. And that's where we sit today, just in defiance of the state of Illinois. That's not for the people. You should say, yes, sure, what can we do to appease you and make you feel more comfortable with our audits? Because that's what we want. So they're not doing that, and the consequence is that they're pulling the wool over your eyes every day, every day. Now, Mark Kearns is the very person being audited. His actions on the county board that has to do with the spending of your money, that's what the auditor audits. So, and they're very good friends, by the way, the Spragues and the Kearns. They're very good friends. They hang out together. They go everywhere together. As a matter of fact, Mark Kearns will stand beside my opponent and protect her from newspaper or from the public, or she doesn't know what to say. She's not going to say anything. She's going to refer her questions to other people. I won't do that. If they come around and they want to know what's going on, I want to tell them. As a matter of fact, I intend to investigate and scrutinize every department and publish what's going on in layman's terms so that it's easy for you to understand. I will put it to you in a way that you don't have to be a CPA to understand. I'll do that work for you. I will sit down with the CPAs and they will explain it to me until I fully understand it, and then you will get a report in layman's terms that's going to be the truth. It's not going to be a cover-up. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. We're not going to tell you how great Mid-America Airport is doing out there. Come on, you can drive down the road and see that it's not. We're not going to seek out grants just for the sole, we're not going to make improvements to an airport that doesn't need them for the sole purpose of seeking out grants, and that's what's been going on. When they receive one of these large grants, then they are able to gain favor with local unions and the union halls by providing a lot of work for those guys. Well, I can tell you that you know, union officials, and I'm very pro-union, by the way, union officials who are predominantly for the Democrats That's not reflective in the workforce. I can tell you that right now because I talk to a lot of those guys and girls that work for those unions. They don't feel the same way that their union bosses feel. So there's something going on out there. And there's a movement, and I want to say something about Bob. You know, he's modest sometimes, and he'll say, hey, maybe I'm not, worthy of your vote. But let me tell everybody right now, he is worthy. He's worthy of your vote because of what I said before, because he's honest and his heart is in the right place. His opponent will be nothing but a shill for the Democratic Party, and we don't need that. That's what we've had. You better be for Bob Romanek or you're not going to change a thing. And in Cahokia, which is my territory, we're split right in half on that district. So Range Lane near the high school, if you live east of there, then Bob Romanek will be on your ballot. Everywhere else, St. Joe Gardens, St. John's, you're not going to see Bob. Regretfully, I wish that you were so that you could show him some support too, but that's the way the line is drawn. And so remember that. And please get out and support Bob Romanek because he will do a much better job than his opponent. And look at what this guy does for veterans. Look at what he does for, servicemen and veterans and cops. I mean, how can you not be for those group of people? He says it every day. He gives a moment of silence to remember folks. And this guy has a huge, huge heart. He's rough on the outside, but I'm going to tell you what, he's got a huge, very generous. And this is the kind of representative that I want. That's why I'm for Bob Romanek, and I want you to be too. Now, if you can't find it in your heart to support our entire ticket, I believe that you should. I really do. And there's a lot of people out there that are saying, I'm just disgusted in this presidential race. I'm not even going to go. Well, let me tell you something. You can skip that entire category. You can skip any of the categories on the ballot. You can go ahead and flip it over and support the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition candidates. You don't have to vote for any other category if you don't want to. You can undervote that ballot, and your choices will still be counted for the candidates that you did choose. So don't stay away just because you're disgusted with all the things that are going on key feet. I agree. People should have more peace in their life. I'm getting tired of all the ads and all of the news, and it really just becomes a chronic stress on everybody. And so, I regret that that's what goes on. But don't let that keep you away from the polls. And another thing in Cahokia that I don't want you to let you keep away from the polls is the rain or the hostility that you may encounter from our opposition, and that's who's doing it. It's our opposition. They aim to suppress you by creating an atmosphere in front of these polling places to where you don't even want to walk past them. Well, walk past them. Ignore them. You don't have to listen to them. Just walk right past them just as fast as you possibly can. And when you see one of us with a coalition out there battling it out with them, grab our punch card. Take it in with you. Take it out on them inside when you go into the polls. Support the candidates of the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition. Please, thank you, and congratulations on your new county government.
Mr. Gary Cornwell, your candidate for St. Clair County Auditor and a proud member of the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition. Last, but certainly not least, we've got Ed Cockrell. We're going to give him about 10 minutes. I give him 10, but one will take 30 because he talks more than I do. But we've got Ed on for about the next 10 minutes, and Ed Cockrell's been on the show quite a bit because he's very transparent. He's the only candidate I know that will give out his number to anybody, not just in his district where he's a county board member, but all throughout St. Clair County. And I've known Ed a long time. He's been doing that for the last 2 or 3 years, not because he's running for office, but he's mainly gonna win because he's the most qualified candidate that St. Clair County's ever had for the Board of Review. And Ed Cockrell, my friend and a friend of the people of St. Clair County, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bob, and good morning to everybody out there. I appreciate you listening. I'd like to start off by thanking all the Freedom Coalition candidates and yourself, Bob. I appreciate it. Giving me the opportunity to run with a bunch of good people. And that's I'm not trying to downplay that. The other side right now has themselves in a little bit of a quandary. They're taking desperate measures. I can tell the way signs are being torn down and literature's being taken away and stuff like that. And, you know, I've walked all over just about every part of this county. I can't say I hit every door, but it feels like I did. But folks, what I want to tell you here is plain and simple. You can talk about whatever race you want to up the ballot, how much disdain you have for this candidate or that candidate, anything. Let's talk about making a difference right here in our own backyard. And if you don't want to vote for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, don't. That's your business. And who you're going to vote for is your business. But what I'm telling you, excuse me, the people on the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition ticket, running as Republican, Jess, a girl called me this morning from Cahokia and was surprised that I was a Republican because I treated people so nice. And I said, well, you know, that's okay. I said, but you know, when you needed help, I was there to help you, and your supporters and friends should know that. And I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, or even if you aren't even involved in politics. I'm going to help you do whatever I can with your property taxes. But I'm running for the Board of Review. I've been on the county board for 24 years, the 7th of next month. And it's been a very long time, and I think I've proven that my constituent services is very important to me, and I would put mine up against anybody in this county, probably in this state, and probably even in this country, because I give people my cell number, and I'll give it right now, 618-406-5767. If you need a ride to the polls, you need somebody to do something for you, even if it doesn't have to do with politics. If you've got a polling place issue, call me. I can't say I have all the answers, but we'll find it out together. But I've been probably the most accessible person in St. Clair County. Now, my opponent stood up and said all 7,200 of her constituents have her cell number to get a hold of her anytime. I've talked to a number of constituents right in her backyard that don't have her number and say it's a waste of time to call her anyway. And that's the way it is when all you're doing is as you're told. And she drinks the Kool-Aid very well up there at the county board, nods her head, and she's a good soldier, I'll give her that, because she does just as she's told. We're both qualified. I can show you my Certified Illinois Assessing Officer certification. She claims she's got it. I'm not even going to go there. But I've got 90 hours of continuing education. Now, there's no way she could have that this year. As far as dedication, I've been in public life for 33 years, 9.5 years as the mayor of New Athens, and then the rest as a county board member, and I've also been the township supervisor since 2013. And by the way, I turned back $1,000 a year to the taxpayers by not taking the salary that I'm entitled to as the treasurer of the road district. I don't even take that. So there's $3,000 a year that the taxpayers have gotten back, and be another $1,000 here toward the end of this term. But I want you to know that hasn't been 33 short, sweet, wonderful years. I've been on the county board where I've asked the tough questions. I've asked the big boy questions and trying to get the big boy answers, which I never do. But usually when I ask a question up there, it's for informational purposes, but I just get degraded and cut off, and that's okay, you know, if that's the way people deal with that. But the most important qualification, I think, for any public servant is to be engaged in the process, doing what you're supposed to do, reading your packets, investigating the issues, helping people, trying to get back to them and let them know. The Board of Review right now, you don't like your tax assessment, you have 30 days to appeal it once you get notice, so on and so forth, et cetera, et cetera. Then what takes place is you get a hearing. Excuse me. At that hearing, you need to take in an appraisal or some comparables telling the Board of Review member that you're going to sit with that you need some relief. What I propose to do is not necessarily have to get an appointment to come to the courthouse. I would like to see people get hearings in their own townships, in a public place, a township hall, a village hall, someplace where it's handicap accessible. People can come in. We'll take our laptops with us. you come in from 6 to 9 a couple of nights a week, or, you know, Saturday morning from 9 to noon. That way you don't have to get a babysitter or take a vacation day or take personal time off work. If there's something we can't find out there, when we get back to the courthouse, I'll find it out. I want an outreach program to go to the taxpayers. And I want to make sure that everybody's got their homeowners exemptions, or their senior tax homeowners exemption, a homestead exemption, or their disabled persons exemption, or veterans disabled exemption. There's tons of exemptions, and you know, to say I know each and every one of them, I know the majority of them, but if I don't, I can find that out. The remodeling exemptions, there's all sorts of things that we can do. I just want you to know that I'm comfortable in that environment helping people. And I've been to every township in this county to help individuals and businesses with their tax assessments, because they are grossly overassessed, and it's quite an injustice to the taxpayers and the business people. I think we're the second county in the country with high property taxes. And you know, I'm not trying to downplay the need for money to schools and local governments and everything else. But what I am trying to do is make sure that everybody pays their fair share. High or low, everybody should pay their fair share. And we know that if you're politically connected, you do get a fair break. You get not a fair break, you get a break is what you get. That's not fair to everybody else in the taxing districts. And we look for a redistribution of those, because if your assessment's too low, it should come up. If your assessment's too high, it should come down. Everything should be balanced out at 33 1/3 in your township. That way we don't have a need for multipliers that I think are unfair when people don't do anything to their properties. But everybody looks at their tax bill, my taxes are too high. Yes, I'm not gonna argue that. Most of that goes to the schools. But let's talk about your assessment and if it's high and why. And I've told people, I don't think your assessment's unfair. I think it's fair. It's right where it ought to be. Actually, it's probably a little underassessed. Well, they get mad at that, but I tell them the truth anyway. Friends, relatives, neighbors, you know, everybody in the community. I want it to be fair for everybody. I want it to be fair for the taxing districts. I want it to be fair for the taxpayers. That's my goal. That's based on state statute that we try to do. I help people appeal their taxes if they don't get relief here at the local level. I help them prepare for a hearing with the Property Tax Appeal Board. Very comfortable in that environment. And I call people there, I call people at the Department of Revenue, hey, what gives here? How does this work? I think a rule that certainly needs to be investigated is that only a lawyer can actually represent you. Your accountant, your county board member can't actually represent you at a board hearing. I mean, you can represent yourself, but if you want to take an expert witness, it has to be a lawyer. I got a big problem with that. I think the rule needs to change. But the bottom line is you've got experience running against unexperienced. My opponent got appointed to the county board because she's the darling of the local Democrats up there in St. Clair Township and St. Clair County. And she does very well by doing as she's told. Shut up and vote. And I just think it's time that you elect somebody with some experience, somebody that's going to go to bat for you, has gone to bat for you, and will continue to go to bat for you. I'm not in this for a career. I'm in this to help people. God knows if you're running for office for the money, that's the wrong reason. I want to thank my family. I want to thank my friends. I want to thank my supporters, because we've given it all here, folks, and we're almost at the end. We can see the finish line, but we need to bring this thing home. Call a few friends, call a few neighbors, make sure everybody gets out and votes. If there's a problem, 406-5767, you call me. We'll make sure they get to the polls. And some of them probably aren't even going to vote for us, and that's okay. I still want you to exercise your right to vote, because many Americans have battled all over this world to keep us free. And if we're not going to exercise that freedom to make a difference, shame on us. God bless everybody. I appreciate everybody's support, and I would appreciate you voting for me tomorrow. Thank you.
Mr. Ed Cockrell, you're a candidate for St. Clair County Board of Review. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and I'm going to take about 10 minutes to give my qualifications and what I'm gonna do, and we'll be back right after this break. This is Bob Romanek, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM, insane broadcasting, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio, and we are, as always, proud, very, very proud to be the Patriot